Good afternoon or good morning to wherever you may be in the country. I hope everyone's dealing with this oppressive heat in some way. I'm Leslie Benjamin. I'm in New York, and so it's very oppressive here in New York today. So hopefully where you are, it's a little bit better. So I am in charge of business development with Strategic Compliance Partners. And for those of you who don't know who we are compliance management solutions for brokers and lenders. I'm really excited to introduce our topic today. We're going to be discussing mortgage call reports and what you need to know. We've been getting a lot of questions around mortgage call reports. So I'm excited to introduce our presenters who have extensive knowledge on this topic. So our first presenter is Heather Clark. She is SEP's Vice President and heads up the consulting group and its programs. She has more than 17 years experience in the mortgage and title industries. And before joining SEP, Heather was an executive vice president, a compliance officer, and associate general counsel at a nationwide mortgage company. Presenting with Heather is Lore Haines. Lore is one of SEP's compliance management consultants. She also has tons of years of industry experience. And prior to joining SEP, Lore spent her time as a vice president of compliance at a mid-sized lender. So I'm going to hand it off to Heather, and everyone is in good hands with these two lovely ladies.
Thanks, Leslie. And hello, everyone. I'm very excited to meet with you. Leslie has introduced a little bit about us. We're Strategic Compliance Partners, and we do provide compliance management services to lenders and brokers, and are just excited to talk to you all about the mortgage call report today. So before I do jump in, let me just give a little legal disclaimer here. This presentation is for general informational purposes only. It's not meant to be a comprehensive guide of all the requirements. We would need a much longer webinar to be able to review the mortgage call report in its entirety. But we will be mainly focused today on the RMLA section of the standard mortgage call report. And so, it will not contain all the requirements, but will be touching on some of the things where we find our clients stumble through or have questions. In addition, we are not a law firm, and so we do not offer legal advice, and this presentation should not be construed as legal advice. All right, so jumping in here. Okay, so just some basic information for those of you out there. We have various different levels of experience, but starting out, who is required to file the standard mortgage call report? And basically, it is any company that holds a state license or state registration through the NMLS, or that employs a state licensed loan originator. Those entities must complete the mortgage call report. The NMLS Resource Center has, really great information to assist companies with determining what the requirements are and who has to file. And you'll even notice here on the screen, this is one of the great charts that the NMLS Resource Center provides. And it just discusses and shares information on what the state-specific requirements are. So that's who is required to file the mortgage call report. Now, there are two different reports that can be filed. And depending on what type of entity you are, you're going to file one or the other. You don't file both. So if your company is not a Ginnie Mae issuer, or a Fannie Mae approved seller servicer, or a Freddie Mac approved seller servicer, then you will file the standard mortgage call report. If you are a Ginnie Mae issuer, Fannie Mae approved seller servicer, or Freddie Mac approved seller servicer, then you will be filing the expanded mortgage call report. As the name describes, the expanded mortgage call report does have additional information that must be filed. We won't be covering that information. That's for a future webinar, but at least for the standard for now, we'll touch base on some of the details there. Okay, there are a couple of different components that must be, included in the mortgage call report. So kind of like two sections. There's the residential mortgage loan activity, or the RMLA section, and this section covers state level data regarding like applications, closed loans, loan originators, lines of credit, servicing and repurchases. There's also some company level information that's included in there. And then there's a separate section called the financial condition component, and that section covers more information about the financial details of the company. Again, just a note, we are going to be focused on the residential mortgage loan origination or the RMLA activity section, and not as much on the financial condition section. Okay, when to file. Again, general overview. I think many of you already know this, but for the RMLA section, the report should be filed on a quarterly basis within 45 days of the end of the calendar quarter. The due dates are shown here on this slide. And then for the financial condition, yes.
Heather, I'm sorry. Can you make the presentation slide larger? I think we're seeing your notes as well. So if you can just show your screen with the slide.
I am so sorry. Thank you. Let me do that. Thank you. You guys are seeing all the secrets under the cover, right? How's that? Is that better?
Looks perfect. Great.
Now
we know you didn't memorize it.
All right, thank you. Okay, so financial condition, right? That will be reported differently depending on which type of mortgage call report you file. And if you file the standard mortgage call report, you're only going to have to report within 90 days of the company's fiscal year end, as it is listed on your company MU1 form. Now, for the expanded mortgage call report, all you who file the expanded are lucky enough to get to file that, at the exact same time as your RMLA on a quarterly basis within 45 days at the end of the calendar quarter. Okay, so jumping along here, those are just some of the basics. And again, where do you file the standard mortgage call report? The online resource center for NMLS, and you just click right into the login and you start right in. Here is, a list of the steps that you take to log in. Again, I think most of you know some of this information, and it is on the NMLS website, so I'm not really going to go into it. But once you do create that RMLA report, then we can dive into some of the details here. And I'm going to turn the time over to Lori, and we'll first start with talking about the state-specific information section of the RMLA report.
Hello, everybody. Once you've created the standard mortgage call report, the mortgage call report components page appears as you see on the screen. Now we're going to jump into the RMLA section. And here there's two sections that you'll need to complete: the state-specific information section and the company level section. First, we're going to enter the state-specific activity, and you'll do so by clicking on the edit icon to the left of the state that you want to work on first. So you'll enter the data for each of your licensed states. The company should submit activity for each of your licensed states, even if there's no activity in the state during the reporting period. So you're going to file a report for each of the states that you're licensed in. And to add a newly licensed state, you would click on the bottom left screen there where it says Add New RMLA and select the state that is your newly licensed state where you need to report activity on. And once you're done that, you're going to click on the edit icon and we're going to move on to the next page. Now this section here is getting deeper into the application data. So previously, when you created your filing, you either created it manually or you uploaded an XML file. So if you chose to manually create the filing, the screen will appear with a bunch of blanks in each field, and you'll go through the fields and enter them manually. If you uploaded your data using an XML file, your data will auto-populate into each field from the data that you took from your LOS system. So here's a few tips that sometimes people have questions around. So tip number one, fields should not contain blanks. So if you have no activity to report in a specific field or category, you're going to enter a 0. If you have no activity to report in a specific state, you can actually click on the top left button where it says no activity to report. That'll save you some data entry time, and it'll auto-populate with all of the zeros that you need. And whether you enter the information manually or uploaded the information, you should validate each field for accuracy. If during the time you're working on the report and you need to step away, you can always exit and continue later by clicking on saving and coming back in. So let's dive in and enter some data.
Yep, and so just to clarify as an example here, right? So let's say you're licensed in 3 different states, and California and New York, you did a lot of activity, so you fill out California and New York, but let's say in Texas, you didn't get any activity this particular month. So you would still file a report for Texas, but that report would show zeros. All right, I'll head to the next slide.
Okay, this slide shows the application data. So we're going to start diving into what columns we're going to report our data in. So you'll see there's 2 sections of columns here. The one on the left is for the applications received directly from a borrower. So your loan officer receives an application. This is the data where you're going to put the activity here. So for example, if you are a mortgage lender, a retail lender, or a mortgage broker, the applications your loan originator received directly from the borrower will be in these columns. And the second set of columns on the right will be applications your company received from a broker or lender, not taken directly from the borrower, should be entered here in the received from borrower or received from third party columns. Okay, let's dive in a little bit more. As an overview, you're going to enter the loan activity for each of these categories for each of the particular states. So we're going to touch on a few of the more complicated fields listed on the slide. We'll do so by using this example. When the company filed their Q1 2019 mortgage call report, they had one application with a loan amount of $263,500 in process at the end of the quarter. This data is entered into field AC010. During Q2, the company received 2 applications for $150,000 each. The total amount is entered into field AC020. During Q2, 1 application was withdrawn in the amount of $150,000, as shown in AC050. The other application closed, but with a reduced loan amount of $100,000, as shown in AC070. The reduction in the loan amount is captured in field AC065. Here, you enter the net changes in the loan amount for the quarter. An application amount may change from the amount reported in the initial application. If the aggregate number of the changes is negative, input a negative number in this field. See the calculator on the slide. The negative $50,000 represents the change in loan amount during the quarter. AC066 represents the total application in the pipeline. And a helpful tip, in this section, AC060 or 066 and AC090 need to match for the amount and count.
All right, so jumping in on the closed loan data section. This is the first part of the section, and as you can see at the top, we're talking about forward mortgages here, so that's mortgages that are not reverse mortgages, and you're going to report information such as loan type, property type, purposes of the loan application, and HOPA information, and this is for closed and funded forward mortgages. And then just note that they're on the right upper section. There are 3 sets of columns, and you'll report the different types of loans for the different channels that your company has. So for brokered loans, here you would report any closed and funded loans for which you have taken the application but you did not fund the loan. So if you have a brokered channel, that's what you would report. A closed retail, the closed retail column, that's a closed loan for which you have taken the application and funded the loan. And then for the closed wholesale section, it's a closed loan for which you have not taken the application, but you did fund the loan. So that is where you would report some of that data. Now again, if there is no activity in a particular section, you're going to report zeros. And if there's a particular field, so let's say, for example, you didn't do any VA loans or FHA loans the particular quarter, again, you would enter 0. There can't be any blanks. You should enter 0. All right, so moving to the next section. So here's the next section of the closed loan data. The top section covers lien status for closed loans. That's pretty clear there. The next section talks about fee information. So for the broker fees collected on forward mortgages, you're going to enter the gross total amount of the broker fees that you collected on a forward mortgage during this period, and you do not include pass-through fees. So credit report fees, right, appraisal fees, you would not include those things. A processing fee, if it's paid to the broker, you would include it. If it's not paid to the broker, then it's a pass-through fee. For the next line, so the AC 610, these would be fees that the lender collected. So the gross total amount of the lender fees during that period that were collected on forward mortgages, and again, you do not include pass-through fees. There's been, some of our clients have questions around this and what is included and what is not included. The next section, for the next 1, 2, 3 sections, right, those have to do with reverse mortgages. And so, similarly here, you're going to enter information regarding the reverse mortgages. At the bottom, there's a little section there that says forward and reverse mortgage loans. So if you don't do reverse mortgage loans, you still have to complete this section here, the AC 900 and the AC 910. So you would enter in the AC 900 the total loans brokered by your company, and you'd enter them under, the count for that brokered column. And then you would enter on AC 910 the total loans funded by your company, right? And so again, that would be under the closed retail section and the closed wholesale section. And again, these are all under the closed and funded loan section. Okay. So then the next section that pops up is your QM, your repurchase, and your servicing details. So in the top section, that's going to be your QM information, and you will report any closed and funded loans that were QM loans, that were non-QM loans, and that were not subject to QM. When it comes to the repurchase information, here, if you have repurchased any loans during that quarter or during the reporting period, you will report that information there, regardless of when that loan was made or when it was assigned. So if you repurchase a loan during the quarter, report it. As far as the gross revenue from operations, you're going to report all the revenue from whatever source that you received revenue from on those loans during the state reporting period. And of course, those must be reported, it's gross revenue, so before any expenses are deducted. And then, just a note that you are to include gross revenues from the sales of mortgages at or subsequent to closing and from any other mortgage-related activity. So that right there is on that board is the definition for gross revenue from operations right from the mortgage call report there. And then servicing, you will be reporting in the servicing section any closed loans during the quarter where you retain servicing and any closed loans where you released servicing. And you'll note that there is the amount, so the loan amount, and then also the count, the number of loans. So that information will be reported in those sections. All right, Lori.
The next section in the RMLA section is the MLO information. So the purpose of this section is to enter the closed loan information for the mortgage loan originators you have employed during the reporting period. If the MLO had no closed loans during the period, but you've employed them, you should enter zeros in the amount and count fields. Don't forget to include the loan originators that have left the company during the quarter. If you employed them in the quarter, you need to report them. So that's a major question that we see when we're reviewing filings of our clients, is they're not including their sponsored loan originators in this section if they had no activity to report. So remember, list all your loan originators that were licensed in the particular state during that reporting period. So there's two ways to enter the data in this section. One, you can manually enter in the MLO's information, or you can upload a CSV file. So sometimes when the CSV file comes in from your LOS system, the data isn't accurate. So you want to make sure that your count and amount are accurate for your loan officers. And a little tip here is the amount and count at the bottom of the screen needs to match AC070, which is the amount and count for the loans closed and funded from the previous screen. So if these don't match, you're going to get an error later on. So if you're manually entering LOs, you're going to click on the Add New. You're going to enter the LO's NMLS number, the amount and count of their closed loans for the quarter, and you're going to click on Save. You're going to click on the little Save icon, disk button for each LO, and then continue adding your LOs as needed. And then once you're done and once your totals total out, then you're going to click on Save and Next. The next screen, we've merged two screens on this slide here to save some time. The next screen you'll come across is the explanatory notes and then the completeness checks. So for the notes section, you're going to provide any explanations for any kind of information that you might need to clarify here during the filing. Most of the times you won't have information in here, however, certain lenders will. So you're going to click on Save and Next, and then the next screen would be the completeness checks. And this is where your errors will show up if you have errors. So if there are errors, and in this example there is, you're going to click on the error, and it's going to bring you right to the error in the filing. Once your errors are all cleared, you're going to proceed, and you're going to click on Ready to Submit. So you'll return to the mortgage components page to enter into each state. So you're going to repeat this process for each licensed state that you're in. Now we're going back to, we're ready to move on because we've cleared our errors in the previous page. So now we're back to the main page. And once the company is ready to submit our company level data, we're going to click on the little icon to the left, and we're going to begin filing the company information which will be shared with all of your licensed states, and we're going to do this on a quarterly basis. So we've finished the residential component, and now we're going to move on to the company level information. So the first section of the company level information is where we're going to enter in our lines of credit. So you're going to click on the Add New and enter your warehouse line providers. You're going to enter the limit on each line of credit for each provider and the amount you have available on each line of credit at the end of the period. This must reflect all the warehouse line providers your company has a relationship with. You're going to click on the Save Disk and continuing adding your providers. Once you're done adding all of your providers, you're going to click on Next. And then the next section of the company level information is where you're going to report your loans that you're serviced. If you do not service any loans, you can actually click on the No Activity to Report. It'll auto-populate with all your zeros. You'll click on Save and Next. If you are reporting servicing loans, you're going to obviously enter that information here. And then we're back to another notes section and completeness checks. Similar to the last section that we just went over, you're going to enter any applicable information here that you need to explain. You're going to correct any errors in the completeness checks. Again, you'll go back to the filing if anything was missing and correct any notes in the company level information area. Once you've completed and you're error-free, you're going to click on the Submit button and you're going to complete the attestation sections, and then you are going to be ready to have filed the RMLA section, and you're going to move on to the financial conditions section if required.
All right, and I really think that's the end pretty much of just this high-level overview in 30 minutes or less, right? We do have about 3 minutes left, and it looks like there are a couple of questions that we've received. So let me just touch base on a couple of these. One of the question is about the broker fee and lender fee fields in the RMLA section 1. And it just asks, when you include all the fees that your company has collected, whether you're a broker or a lender, is LO compensation considered a pass-through fee? And it is not considered a pass-through fee. So if, as a broker, if you're receiving loan originator compensation, that is not considered a pass-through fee. If the borrower is paying the LO compensation, that is not considered a pass-through fee for lenders as well. Another question that we received is what amount to report under the application amount. Is it the initial amount on the application or the amount the application closes if that loan amount changes later? So that first section on the application data section, it is the initial loan amount on the application that you enter into that section. And then later, if that amount changes, that is where you enter that net change. And then that net change is calculated out through the calculations on that particular section. And so we're pretty much at time. I see several other questions. So if you'd like to send your questions to info@strategiccompliancepartners.com. Again, it's info@strategiccompliancepartners.com. We'll be happy to get some responses back to you. And if you've entered any questions that have not been answered yet, we will send a response back to you based on the information you signed in to the webinar with. So feel free to also contact us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. And we appreciate everyone's time. And thanks for joining us today. Hope you have a great day.